In this episode, the 2024 Major League Baseball playoffs are upon us. The Chiefs win, but lose Rashid Rice. Who had the most resounding loss in week number 4? Week number 5, of course, is right upon us in the NFL season, and Devonte Adams wants outs. Coming right on up.
It's time for the Bookie and the Bettors show, live from Baldini's Casino. Beat the Bookie. Make every bet count. Reno's #1 sports radio show is now on streaming platforms. Now, introducing the Bookie, Rob Kowalski, and the Bettors, Randy Weig and Nick Schulte.
Yes, welcome back to our great show. It is the Bookie and the Bettors. I am your host, Robert Kowalski, here at Baldini's Casino, joined once again by my best of friends, Randy Weig,
Rob
Schulte.
What a week. What a week. Oh, I can hardly wait to dig. We're covering everything today. Wide spectrum.
Every sport. We are approaching, as they call it, the sports equinox. It's not quite here yet, but at some point in the
Don't
next
use
few
those
weeks.
big words.
I do believe starting today, there is going to be a football game on your TV every single day until November 27th.
There will be football, yes.
Perfect
Like
time.
there was blood, now there will be football.
Well, that's right. Mac next week, right? Starts
Action.
a Tuesday,
Of course there's
Wednesday.
action.
Wow.
So, look, let's go over the first topic of discussion. I want to go over the 2024 Major League Baseball playoffs. Of course, after we witnessed a regular season ending with no 100-win team for the first time in a decade, looks like this month appears to be wide open, gentlemen. Is it going to be Shohei Ohtani in his first playoff appearance? Is it going to end in the World Series title for the LA Dodgers? Is it going to be the Phillies who's going to power through the playoffs? Or maybe we're going to see some unexpected run. We've already seen some very interesting results as we saw the wild card round almost come to an end. Milwaukee and New York later today. But, look, the Tigers and the Royals are through to the division series. Like everyone predicted in April. Of course, everyone saw that coming. Padres took care of the Braves as well. Randy, some thoughts so far early on, and I want to hear your World Series pick today.
You know what? Don't be shocked if a wild card team doesn't make it into the World Series.
We saw Texas, appear against Arizona, so...
Detroit's pitching, especially with Skubal. Now, you got to believe in a 4 out of 7 series. He's going to get the ball 3 times.
Yeah.
He may even throw relief. So, obviously, in the back of my mind, I think that's what the Tigers are thinking. And he is tough. Let's face it, he's going to be the Cy Young winner. So
you think Detroit makes it or wins it? Because right now, I want to say they're, 11.5 to 1 or something right now?
I'd like them to make it. I really do. Obviously, when you look at the talent, and again, I really believe to the point of no team winning 100 games this year.
Yep.
The pitching clock affected a lot. But you've got to like, obviously, the Yankees and Dodgers, but I might take those Detroit Tigers. What'd you say they are, 11 to 1?
I think it's 11 plus 1150 right now.
To make it to the World Series or to win the World Series?
To make it to the World Series.
Okay, so ALCS champs.
Yeah, win the pennant.
Yeah.
Okay. Nick?
I like the Yankees. I think it's going to be Yankees and Dodgers, and I don't think the Dodgers can get it done in the World Series.
Okay. It's perfectly fine backing the favorites that we said were going to be there. We did this show back in late March, and we said just bring us to today. Mm-hmm. Bring us to the point where we're going to see Yankees Dodgers. It makes still very clear sense.
Thanks a lot, Orioles. You cost me. You cost me, Baltimore. You cost me.
You want to?
I had the Orioles.
Expound on that a little?
I had the Orioles, and they can't even get by the Kansas City Royals.
Sounds like it might be time to turn out the lights.
Turn out the lights, the party's over.
I'm glad that you got that out of the way.
Appreciate it, yeah. So I want to slip
good
it in
that you
there.
did that. Actually, it's probably a good time to pause before we go into NFL. Yesterday I went down to the Summit, and they've got a new ice cream place that I found to be pretty tasty.
Okay.
Based out of Ohio. It's been open like a month now. So I went in and
Ohio ice cream?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what?
You said based out of Ohio?
Well, they are, right. It was very tasty. But what was that word that you said just before cream?
Ice?
Is that present tense or past tense? Listen, let me ask you this. Better question. When you drink a beverage that is chilled and it's tea, and you could buy it in a store in a bottle, what is it called?
Iced tea?
I'm sorry?
Iced tea.
Can you spell the first word in that phrase?
ICE?
You drink iced tea?
Is this a trick question?
No, it's not.
Iced tea.
Ice tea?
Iced tea.
Ah.
Oh, like the rapper?
No,
Yeah.
no, not like the rapper. He's perfectly fine being the way he is. He's great.
ICED?
But you said iced.
Iced tea. Yeah.
Right. So when you eat a frozen dessert, it's called,
Frozen dessert.
okay, also known as,
Gelato.
okay, also known as in the American vernacular.
Ice cream.
You said ice cream.
Yeah, that's what you call it, right?
Well, if it's iced tea, why isn't it iced cream?
Oh, my Lord.
I missed that day in the English class.
I did too. That's a trick question.
It's not a trick question.
It's a
No,
trick
it's
question.
cream that has been frozen in the past. So it's served to you as iced cream.
It's kind of like taking the Carolina Panthers to win the National Football Conference.
You know, two teams are left that are still 4-0. It's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, look,
Who saw the
no
Vikings
one
get-
had the Vikings at 4-0.
Yeah, that's a
Okay, so
shell shock.
Sam Darnold, super duper salute to you and that incredible, very simple offense of
Yeah.
A, no one stopping Jefferson.
Yeah.
And compliments to anyone else that's now single teamed or whatever, however the attack is. Their defense has been performing very well.
one of the
So
top defenses in the league.
great from the NFC perspective. AFC, guys, Kansas City was down 10 to a division rival, still won by 7, 17-10 over the Chargers. They are now, looks very likely, if it's not going to be for a very long extended period of time, certainly looks like maybe even for the season. Rashid Rice, real bad injury, so he's looking like he's going to miss very, very long extended periods of time.
Next man up.
Hollywood Brown, but he's on the IR. Now he said that he's shut down. Pacheco's on the IR. Who knows how long that's going to be? And it looks like Travis Kelce's simply washed.
Taylor, you have ruined Travis Kelce. You've ruined him.
Or it's 10 years of football,
They
one
picked
or
up that.
the other.
Yeah.
I
Didn't
mean,
they pick up
it's
that rookie Xavier? Something?
Worthy.
Worthy.
Yeah, I mean,
Fastest man.
Yes.
Faster than Tyreek right there.
So what are we looking at here for the rest of this season? Can Kansas City continue this run? Can Minnesota continue this run, Nick?
Well, Kansas City's not going to go undefeated, but I mean they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be in the AFC Championship, and I probably would bet they're probably going to be in the Super Bowl because when push comes to shove in that fourth quarter, Mahomes knows how to win games, and Andy Reid knows how to put him in a position to let Mahomes win that game. So yeah, I mean, until they can prove me otherwise, my money's on Kansas City.
Well, who would have thought going into week 5 we'd only have 2 unbeaten teams?
Yeah.
I would have thought we'd have had 3 to 4 unbeaten teams going into week
And there's
5.
been some pretty big upsets too in there too.
Yeah.
I mean, who saw the Raiders beating the Ravens? Let's be honest. And then the very next week, even though I said take out a third mortgage on your house to bet the Raiders on Carolina, that didn't work out too well for me. So.
No, Dalton's 92 years old, still playing well.
Let's go back to the other side of the spectrum. Some teams that suffered some really significant loss. I don't say season-ending. Maybe Jacksonville. But who had the biggest loss?
Jacksonville.
The New York Jets, the Jacksonville Jaguars, or was it the Philadelphia Eagles who are on a bye to think about that very, very long time? The Jets, Randy.
The Jets, to me, and again, I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Aaron Rodgers looked old. It was nasty weather, raining. If you noticed, he had a tough time gripping the football. He really did. And again, in this sport, and I've brought it up numerous weeks, and again, not to pick on Drew Brees, but Drew Brees' last year had a tough time with that deep out. Aaron Rodgers is having a tough time with that deep out. Now, going into a Viking team this week's 4-0, I think the Jets really had an emotional letdown last week. Probably had the biggest disappointing loss. I have to give it to them. The Jaguars are struggling. I think there's dissension in the locker room going on there. And the Eagles definitely have dissension in the locker room. But I think, and I know I've stressed on this, guys, over the last 2 years, getting older in the game, and including the NFL where you got these extra weeks, It's tough to win if you don't have young talent with it. You can have all the Barkleys in the world, but you've got to have some youth that's just helping you come in. And again, you're losing A.J. Brown and some of these guys, not having them out on the field, has made a difference for Hurts. I really believe that. So who he's targeting, it's been a big thing lately.
You know, Nick, the Jags blew that late lead to the Texans, so even though they have a significantly younger quarterback than, say, Aaron Rodgers, that was a bad letdown. The Eagles, who were in the Super Bowl just 2 years ago, and so now we're looking at Jalen Hurts, who now has 27 turnovers in his last 20 starts.
Yeah, that's
right. So, okay, very good point. No A.J. Brown, no Devonta Smith. It seems as if that last game, it was like they were going through preseason motion still. Who's your worst loss from last week?
I'm going to agree with Randy. I think the Jets. Because, I mean, not only Aaron Rodgers, you have arguably maybe one of the top 3, if not top 5 running backs in the league, and they held him to, 4 yards?
They did.
You know, so, I mean, that was just, you know, and I think it's going to be, if they don't bounce back this week, just hang it up for the season.
But he couldn't grip the ball in the rain. And again, you look at this team who had Bo Nix had -9 yards passing in the first half.
Just look at his eyes the next time he's on that field. He does not look okay. No. I'll let you make your own decisions from there, but he doesn't look okay. So I don't necessarily think it was just the rain, but yeah, again, I mean, Aaron Rodgers aside, if you can't run the ball, you can't do anything in this league. So
the forecast doesn't look like it's going to be much better very early in the morning as this game is being played in London at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
And again, that's why I kind of almost like him a little bit this week, just because, you know, what have we seen with those international games? How many international games hit the under versus the over? I'm going to say I'm just guessing 80% of them go under. You know, you don't generally see very much offense in those games, and if they can kind of keep a cap on Justin Jefferson, they got a shot.
At 65 years old, I had more mobility last week than Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love.
That's a lie, and you could have that redacted later in the show in post-production.
Can we fact check that?
Yes. So, next up, speaking of injuries, Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Devonte Adams is not expected to play Sunday versus the Broncos.
He will never be in a Raiders uniform again.
Due to his hamstring injury, per league sources. So, Devonte Adams wants out.
Hamstring. Yeah.
Which team, Randy Wyke, is the best fit for him?
Well, now, again, if I was Devonte, and again, he's not young. He's been around the league a few years. I would think you'd want to go to somebody you're familiar with. So, again, the guy that didn't look good last week, Aaron Rodgers, and I'll throw Derek Carr in there. You know, they played ball together at Fresno State as well as the Raiders. Those two teams, to me, make the most sense for him. But I'll tell you who needs a wide receiver right now is the L.A. Chargers. So if the Chargers could go after him with Herbert, that would be a great pick. I think he's going to lean to one of the two, though, either the Jets or
I don't know how much
Saints.
It's going to be in his court. But some good selections there. How about Nick? Where do you find him landing?
I mean, I think the most obvious choice would be the Jets. And again, kind of back to what I was just saying, I think if the Jets can somehow find a way to pull off a win this weekend, then they're definitely in play. Again, if they can't win this weekend, I think they're just hanging it up for the year. And then at that point, I would say the Saints is probably a good option number 2. And then, but back to your point, I mean, I don't know the details of his contract. How much does he have I have any kind of say of where I go clause. I'm sure he does. And you got to think if you're a GM of an NFL team, he's only really got maybe 2 decent seasons left in him, right? And he's contract through 26. So I mean, really, it's either you get a shot this year and then maybe a shot next year. But if I was a GM, I'm looking, hey, what can I do to win a Super Bowl this year, and then maybe trade him off for some extra draft picks or something.
And don't forget the big thing: Raiders signed him at the end of last year, right? So
2 years ago.
In 2 years ago, going into the season last year. So they're going to have a cap. If they do dish him right now, they're going to have a cap issue. So that's something else you got to look at. I haven't read his contract, but the Raiders are going to have a cap on there because he's not at the end of this contract. So you're going to have some kind of a cap with him that basically is going to penalize the Raiders as to what they can do. So we need to put that in perspective as well.
The deadline coming near, we'll have an answer a lot sooner than later on his future. We'll find out how that plays itself out. You know, gentlemen, we are less than, 30 days before the start of the NBA season. A couple of things I wanted to touch on today is this really great trade that happened, at least made headlines in my ticker. Karl Anthony Towns, now a New York Knick, traded for Dante DiVincenzo and Randall. So now my question is this. Obviously, earlier in the offseason, they acquired, the Knicks did, Mikal Bridges, traded away from Brooklyn. Now they got themselves a catch-and-shoot 6'11" three-point shooter. 50 and 32 last year with the Knicks, but they were 14 back of the Celtics. 76ers pick up Paul George. Embiid averaged 35 a game last year on one leg. He lost some weight. That has definitely been confirmed as practice has begun. He's down about 25, 30 pounds and looks lean and mean. Randy, yes or no, are Boston and Philly still favorites over the Knicks?
Oh, absolutely. Again, if Embiid's healthy and now picking up Paul George, they're definitely going to be there. The one thing, nobody's really talked about with Karl Anthony Towns is the fact he plays when he wants to play. Now, I used to think the same thing about Julius Randle, and you being an East Coast fan, with Julius Randle, you never knew what you'd get when he took the floor. Is he ready to play or not? Towns is the same way. So I've got to believe that, and it's a shame Julius Randle got hurt last year because he was actually playing the best ball he'd been playing in quite a long time. I still like the 76ers in this mode if Embiid can stay healthy.
So forget about them passing the Celtics. You even have the Sixers ahead of the Knicks.
Yeah.
Nick, how about you?
I think this is a Celtics time. I think, next couple of years we're going to kind of see the, Golden State Warriors-esque, it's going to be the Celtics are the team you're going to have to beat to win a championship.
All right, so they were let's just say, let me put out a really crazy number right off the top of my head right now. They were 14 better than the Knicks last year. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say they'll be, let's set a line of 9.5 wins more from a handicap perspective. Celtics over the Knicks. Which way would you take it? Would you lay 9.5 more wins with the Celtics or take?
I'd lay the 9.5.
Lay the 9.5. Randy, how about you?
I would too.
You guys have no faith in New York. None. No faith.
When's the last time they...
Long time ago.
Okay.
Gentlemen.
I believe I've heard the trend is your friend somewhere before.
Was Willis Reed still playing back in those days and Bill Bradley?
They didn't have the three-point line yet,
No,
right?
they didn't have. I'd have killed it if I'd had a three-point line.
Rest in peace.
Not to get off subject, do you guys see anything about apparently Thailand has a basketball league, and they're adding a 4-point line, is what I heard a quick article about that.
I have not seen that, but...
NBA Jam style, I guess.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. Adds a little difference to the game. Yeah. I mean, it's the guys today are so big. It just amazes me from the old days of a Willis. We talk about a Willis Reed, Bill Bradley, and even a Wilt Chamberlain era team. You might have seen one guy. Teams have 5 and 6 guys now, 6'10", 6'11", or taller. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a kid
big boys.
That was doing layup drills on the University of Florida. If you haven't seen it, go find it now. He goes to take a layup. I think he's a freshman. He's got to be a freshman. He's like maybe 17. Lays the ball up, grabs a rebound, outlet pass to the next kid to go to do the layup. And at the end of the cycle, as it gets into line, another kid jumps up and gives him a high five. So we later find out that the kid that jumped up to give the high five was 7'1". Okay, yeah. So the kid that I want to say Olivia, and it'll come back to me a little bit later. But this kid that we're talking about right now is 7'9".
7'9"?
7'9". I demand that he plays
his hands
40 minutes.
His hands are like literally above the rim. If he puts his hand up, it's above the rim.
See him.
How? When this is for another story. How come the kids are so big now? 7'3", 7'4".
I think diet, exercise, knowing what supplements to put in your body. I mean, all that, and especially at a young age.
I should have had those stretching exercises.
Lots of gluten.
Where you could stretch. I could have been 6'3", 6'4", and just really had a career.
I have nowhere to go
I could have
with
been
that.
a contender.
Nick, it's blank for LeBron James to say it's, quote, unfair to put any expectations on his Lakers team right now. It's blank. Fill in the blank.
Ridiculous. Pure and utter ridiculousness. But, I mean, the guy does it to himself. He's constantly in the media. He's constantly running his mouth. I mean, just, if you want to have an opinion, expect everybody else to have an opinion too. So,
Randy, it's blank to say it's unfair.
I'm not even going to use ridiculousness. I'm going to say it's stupid for LeBron to say that. I mean, come on. Why are you still playing the game if you don't have the real desire to win and that you're not putting expectations on this team?
I think a couple $1 billion probably has something to do with it.
Well, then he shouldn't be playing. He doesn't want to be called dad but on the court with his son. You don't want to be called dad, and now you're coming out and you don't want to put any pressure on this Laker team, who, mind you, we're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers here, who are accustomed to winning, and you don't want to put any
From this
expectations
moment
on.
forward, LeBron James will now be known as the old man.
And he should be. And not to
He's
really
got some
knock
other
him,
troubles he's got to worry about too.
not to
coming up,
knock
it
him.
sounds like.
Let's see. Age plays it plays a role in this game. And at some point in all of our careers, we all played sports, not to the level they are, but at some point, that age factor takes over and you realize, I can't do, or it's not feasible for me to do the same things I did 10 years ago.
Obviously, it's strength, but I think the biggest thing that you're going to see a decline at that level is your reaction time. You're not as quick, you're not as fast, you're not able to kind of see that pass, that out. So
Intramurals, Randy.
Well,
Intramurals.
honey, you keep me active in my alert time there, reaction time
Okay,
there.
so
moving on.
what we want to actually do is come back to this kid. I mentioned his name. I did find him. 7'9" freshman, Olivier Roux. I am hoping I pronounced that correctly. There's an awful lot of vowels. Rieux. Olivier Roux. I can't wait to watch him play every
And
single
where's he
minute.
at?
University of Florida Gators.
They're with the Gators.
Yes.
Wow, they're doing that international recruiting, aren't they?
Week 5 board. Gentlemen, let's run this one down. This is as a tight a board. Lots of matchups are on key numbers. Take a look right from the very, very top. It is Thursday night, week number 5. The Tampa Bay Bucks are at the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, this number moved all the way up from 3 down to 1.5 and now settled at 2.5. Bijan Robinson was the one in question there. Total is 44. I'll stop right there. Anything that you like there, Randy?
I'm going the dog here. I think Tampa Bay is playing extremely well right now. I love their defense, let alone the offensive side of the ball. This is going to be a tough one. Again, depending on Robinson, obviously, but you haven't really seen Cousins, other than that first week, really snap out and start throwing for 280, 290. I think he's going to have to do that this week.
I would agree.
Nick?
I agree. I don't know how the Buccaneers aren't favored in this. I don't think Atlanta's defense is going to be able to stop them, and I think the Bucs are kind of firing on all cylinders right now. So,
Well, an 18-17 or 18-10 game as they had with the Steelers, that isn't going to work here.
no, it's going to be. I don't want to say I wouldn't bet the over, but I would not be surprised if it does go over.
Right.
Plus 2.5 for the both of you. All right, let's move to Sunday the 6th. A couple of buys, of course. Well, not a couple, 4 buys. It does belong this week to the Lions, the Titans, the Eagles, and the Chargers.
Already.
So, with the early starts, the earliest of starts of the Book at Baldini's, this one starts at 6:30 a.m. Pacific. As I mentioned, Jets and Vikings are playing at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, England. It is Vikings 2.5 and the total 40. The Panthers at the Bears, Chicago 3.5 and the total 41. Ravens and Bengals, Baltimore is 2.5, the total 49.5. The Bills at the Houston Texans. Houston is pick, total 47. And then Colts, Jaguars, Jacksonville minus 3. You can maybe dig around for 2.5. Baldini's is 3 and 46. Dolphins at the New England Patriots. This one is flip-flopping all over the place. Dolphins 1. Maybe even the Patriots 1, depending on where you shop. At Baldini's, it's 1-36.5. Last early start, the Cleveland Browns at the Washington Commanders. The 3-1 Washington Commanders.
It's another
Washington 3 -120 in the total 43.5. Nick, how about the early slate and what jumps out here for you from a betting perspective?
Again, just not to go back on my words, but I got a feeling about the Jets this week. I think those London games, and I think the Vikings. Nobody expected them to be 4-0. Now they're kind of starting. And I think they might kind of pull off the gas a little bit, and I think the Jets are going to make them pay. So I definitely like the Jets, probably the under in that game. As far as locks go, I also do like the Colts over the Jaguars, but I've taken the points with that one, and I think that's going to go over. I mean, both defenses really can't stop the run or the pass, so I think it's going to be a huge game, and I think Colts come out on top.
Nick, on the Bucks plus 2.5 earlier, and we got the Jets plus 2.5 with a probably the under. I'm just going to kind of underline that and not give that out to our fellow listeners here.
I'm not betting it, but again, probably going to happen.
Several weeks ago, several dollars, including possibly a restructuring of a mortgage, was on the Colts. Right back on them again, plus 3 here. Is that correct, Nick?
That is correct.
Randy, early slate, what goes you?
Well, obviously the marquee game is the Ravens-Bengals. Bengals are actually one of my plays for the week. I think Baltimore's going to have a little letdown. They got to go on the road after a Sunday night game. And again, this is a critical game for the Bengals. And again, not to say last week was a bit critical, because from the standpoint, if they lost last week, you can get out the fishing gear and your snow skiing. But this is a big game, and it's in an ideal place for Cincinnati and Joe Burrow. I like Cincinnati a lot in this game. I like them to win outright as a dog. And the other one that, of course, we'll talk about it, but I think the other marquee value, when you look at Jaden Daniels, and again, 82% completion rate in his first 2 games. Last week you had the highest 2 quarterbacks ever with Goff and Daniels. But to look at a kid that's played 4 weeks and he's completing 82% of his passes, you got the Commanders. I mean, they created some excitement in the NFL, and I think it's a good thing. So I think they're going to be a team to watch this week. Can they get Deshaun Watson to play into their hands, if you will, defensively? But my play of the week is the Bengals.
The play of the week on the Bengals, forget about the 2.5, but that's going to get stamped money line, according to Randy Wyke. And the Commanders laying the 3. Go ahead and shop around for some juice, as it looks like it's -120, maybe -115, or maybe even just a flat 3, depending on your timing of it all. Afternoon slate. Randy, we're going to start right back with you where you left off. Raiders and the Broncos. Denver is 3, the total 36. The Cardinals at the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers 7, total 49.5. The Packers at the LA Rams. Green Bay on the road, -3 in the total 48.5. Giants and Seahawks. We're going to stop right here. We'll do the evening game a little bit later. But the Seahawks, 6.5. The total 43.5. Randy, you first.
Well, and one other note with that Bengal game, it's going to be high scoring, Rob. High scoring. Might be 31-27, something in that ballpark. Again, from the standpoint I mentioned earlier in the show, at 65, I had more mobility than Jordan Love did last week. And I think the Packers are in a spot here where they can bounce back. Again, the Rams, you talk about a team that's banged up on the offensive side of the ball. Jordan Love could have a field day. And I think, that Rams defense, they give up a lot of points. So he could have a big day. He's going to be a week healthier, because last week he should not have played. They should have really kept him on the bench and went with Wills. They didn't. I like them this week. I think they're going to bounce back. Romeo, how art thou, Romeo? Dobbs could have a big day.
The Green Bay Packers laying 3 in what Randy says is maybe a bit of a rush to bring back Jordan Love. So see if he comes back, performs better. This game on the road at LA, laying the 3. By the way, he did mention also a 31-27 over the total actual score in the Bengals game. That does go over the total significantly, as the total is only 49.5. Nick, Afternoon slate?
I'm loving the Broncos. Again, just kind of what they were able to do to haul last week. I'd be surprised if the Raiders score any points in this game. I think it's going to be 10-0, maybe even 14-0. So definitely liking the Broncos. And then, again, I agree with Randy again. I mean, you look at the Rams' defense, they probably the worst in the league so far. Really nobody on offense. And I think, Jordan Love, he's definitely got some receiving options out there that, can definitely open it up. So
I can't believe I'm not talking about Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys.
No, because
when's the last time?
To that.
Well, we're still going to go to that. We're going to still go to that.
You can't rush
Oh, I
this
can't go
segment.
ahead.
it's a process.
Okay, it's a process. I'm with you. Okay, go ahead.
I said we were going to save that
Okay,
game. You're going to get
I'm
out
gonna
to
go
that.
there.
Don't worry about that game in a moment. Nick,
Yes, sir.
a laying 3 by the Broncos by virtue of shutout. I'm very impressed by calling out a shutout there. And the Packers laying the 3. Now, Randy Wyke, the Cowboys are in Pittsburgh. The Steelers 2.5, and the total 44. Go you first.
I have defense.
I'm going to go under in this game. I don't know about who I like to win.
If you're going under, you got to like the Steelers.
Well, but something tells
Dallas really isn't known for their.
If you look at this team, and
run the
again, the
clock.
Randy White computer ratings, my computer ratings, Pittsburgh should be a 4-point favorite to a 4.5-point favorite. Why?
It's because it's the Monday night or the Sunday night game. So our bookie over here, they might shave a few points off that.
I mean, really, to me,
I'm trapping you right now.
Generally, people
Yeah.
don't like betting unders and betting the dogs.
ladies and gentlemen, on paper, this should be a 4 to 4.5 point game. It's not. It's kind of telling you to go the Cowboys' way. I like the under in this game. I think the final score turns out to be 20-17 or 23-17, something.
So you're saying the power rankings generated by your computer
Yes.
The White
have the
24,000.
Cowboys
4 to 4.5.
lower in power ranks than Pittsburgh.
Yes. On the road. On the road, mind you. You got to put that into consideration, Rob. Road versus home.
How many touchdowns has the Cowboys given up this season? Their defense.
Well, they're a little weak on the run, but realistically, I'm thinking that they can stop that. But the question to me is Micah Parsons, have they confirmed, is he out?
Oh, no.
I think
It's still
he's day to day.
That was a nasty kind of a high-low tackle he took.
As of yesterday, he's downgraded to doubtful.
Okay. So that's going to have some impact. You're going to try to see, I think, obviously Pittsburgh running the ball more, which reinforces my under total, because if they don't have Mike in that lineup, I think they're going to come at him hard on the ground.
How do you see this differently, Nick?
I like the Steelers. I mean, I just don't see the Cow. Again, I think the Steelers have a better defense. They're going to be able to move the ball, control the clock. Again, I'm not touching the total, but it is a little odd. I would expect to see the Steelers, win by 6 minimum.
So you're saying if I had the Steelers 3, you're still laying 3?
Yes.
Remarkable. No, that's why we do this show, gentlemen. We've got one more game, and it's Monday night. The New Orleans Saints, Nick, are playing at Kansas City. We talked about them at the top of the show at 4-0. Are they going to 5-0? Well, the point spread says so. They're 5.5 points the better. The total 43.5. How do you handicap this?
Quick question for you. What's the Chiefs' record against the spread this season?
Yes. Not 4-0.
Is it 2-2?
I think it's 2-2, isn't it?
Or I want to say it's like 1-3.
If we have a,
Anyway. My gut says I think the Chiefs win, but they do not cover.
Okay, that's fair. Anything that you find that might play itself into some roles? Like, let's take a look from it, it's very specifically from a player perspective, Nick. Any one player, I mean, we talked about their injuries. Obviously, the Saints have their different pieces that they're going to play in. You find one player in particular on either side of the ball that you think might have a pop-off kind of a game for those listening from a fantasy perspective?
Well, I think it comes down to CD Lamb, right? I mean, really, if you look at that Dallas offense, he's really the only star kind of I feel like that they kind of got on there. Obviously, they got some past stars on there, but, I think if he does not have a game, they have no chance in this game. And I think the Saints are coached well enough to kind of basically just lock him down. So I don't expect CD Lamb to have a great game. Obviously, if you're playing traditional fantasy, I wouldn't bench him because I don't think I mean I wouldn't go that far. But and if you just kind of look at the Saints, obviously you got Kamara on their side, and I mean he's doing great this year. But they just have a lot of weapons and a lot of ways they can beat you with, and I don't see that from the Cowboys this year. Again, they got kind of that one guy.
Well, but Saints playing the Chiefs right this week.
Yes.
Okay, so. When you look at the Saints, okay, I thought you said Cowboys. I'm sorry. So the Saints, I'm going to give you a little shocker here, Rob. I'm going to give you a shocker, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to believe. Do not be surprised that the two unbeatens go down this week. And I'm going to tell you right now, Alvin Kamara could have a huge night against Kansas City Chiefs and Chris Jones up front. I'm telling you, this kid is a beast. And he's coming into his own right now because they've got some health and they got some stability on that offensive line. I mean, Derek Carr looks like an All-American right now. He, back in his college days, this team is for real. Do not count out Dennis Allen, the New Orleans Saints against the Chiefs. And Alvin Kamara, 2 touchdowns against the Chiefs on Monday night.
Calling out player props now. How about that?
Oh, I like it.
Look, you got them all fired up and whipped into a frenzy. To answer the question, actually, both teams, the Saints and the Chiefs, are both 3-1 against the spread this year. So
really?
That breaks down.
I'm shocked on that.
I'm actually shocked by your comments of being shocked.
I know. Can you believe that?
One last chance, and yes, both of you have been eliminated from any kind of survivor picks. However, if you had to make a selection, knowing the teams that you've already taken, gentlemen, who would be a survivor selection that you would give out in this waning last final moments of our episode? Nick, you did use the Saints, the Texans, the Raiders, and then you had a little skip. Randy, you took the Saints, the Texans, and the Myles Garrett, please don't let me down, Browns, and then you came back and gave out the Cowboys.
Well, I said Jerry Jones. Please don't let me down, Jerry Jones. And I do want to emphasize that game was 5.5. It ended at 5.5. Randy White got it at 4.5 last week. So winner, chicken dinner.
Nick, you did give out 3 favorites, Broncos, Packers, and Steelers. But is there something easier among your pool of teams that you would rather take to survive? I
mean, the safe bet is going to be the Seahawks. I mean, I just don't really see. I mean, if they played that game 100 times, I think the Seahawks win 95 of them. But as far as, the Seahawks are still looking decent this year. I mean, they did have that loss last week. But, if you're looking to save them for down the road, I think the Bears would be kind of probably your next best pick.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. Okay, so
in Chicago.
Seahawks. But if you're looking for a saver, which some people are, Chicago is a very, very good pick there as well. Randy, looking down your groupings, looks like you also laid into the Packers and Commanders, but where's something else unless you're taking that?
I got Seahawks too. Seahawks is written down right here. They're my play this week. Geno's he had a great game last week.
Yep.
Where was the defense? It was like watching an NBA game.
Well, I mean, it's the Lions, right? So
Daniel Jones.
They got overrun pretty quick.
Daniel Jones, you don't know what you're getting. And so, again, to play
in Seattle
against the 12th man, I'm going to Seattle. I'm going to actually start calling them Super Chickens.
The Super Chickens. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. You got any props on DK up there?
DK had a big game last week. And again, I think Geno threw for over 300 yards, didn't he? So, and then I also like, I just went blank, the running back. Walker.
Oh, he's a beast.
He's a beast too. So, but I got Seattle on this one. I think it's going to be 27-10 Seahawks.
I don't know the line on it, but I think you can get a pretty good price on a anytime touchdown for a couple of those Seahawks receivers, especially Tyler Lockett. I think you can probably get a pretty good price.
There you go.
Right now, so.
Honey, I need to get into the stash money this week. I've got some ideas. We could come out big.
That's it. That's all I got.
Just any fresh, anytime sarcasm?
Yeah,
Sir Bailey?
I gave you everything I could lay into.
Perfect.
This was all I could handle.
So how do you spell iced cream in your
Iced cream. ICED CREAM. Iced cream.
Is that an East Coast thing?
No, you're not understanding. Iced cream. You have to have iced
Sounds like
cream.
a rapper.
That's all we have for today. Good luck, everyone. See you again next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Bookie and the Bettors Show. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and be the first to know when new episodes drop. Hit that subscribe button and join us.